Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce with JP8 report, episode 401. As I get situated here. Alrighty. Hope everyone's having a good day. Boy, the news is like coming in hard and heavy. But let's get started on this. Welcome to the JP8 report. As we get started here, things are ramping up. Click that follow button, whether you're watching on demand or live. Click that follow button, click the like button, and if you're live, if you want to chat in here, join the chat room. It's only me right now. It's a slow day, but that's all right. Let's go. I mean, there was a couple of things. We'll get to that in just a couple of minutes here. Let me get started here. Okay, America 250, just a quick little, it's a small letter. It's from Benjamin Kent to John Adams, dated May 26, 1776. I've written upon politics to your namesake, upon the grand affair of a Declaration of Independence, and I suppose he will show it to all our continental representatives, our representatives of Massachusetts Bay, if desired, for though I through the kindness of Providence sustain no sort of public character, yet I concern myself very much in affairs which concern the public. I remember I promised you that I would write you when the Continental Arms should work for a change to give me something to write upon, but the Lord has sent a panic upon our enemies, and by that means, and not to use force of our arms. I am now a resident in Boston, but what is this day here of the doings of the Continental Congress induces me to earnestly to ask you if you have released that double damnable fellow Ben Church, I can't figure out what it is, which I am very unwilling to believe, and if so, how will it come to pass? Pope says, whatever it is right, but here is, such a thing as right wrong. Hang well, pay well is a fundamental principle in all good government, but the releasing him seems quite contrary. But if it is so, I wish he would come to Boston. I would affront him in hopes he would offer me such treatment that I might beat his brains out or cut his throat, and I might escape the gallows. I assure you are right under the great discomposure of mind on that account, because I have so credibly informed you that I have released him, and that I believe not. Pray that I give some relief, and that you will never receive me a better letter. And this is of no importance other than my own stomach, so let you know that you are beloved by your brother, Benjamin Kent. Okay, that was a strange one, but the top part is talking about there's rumors that they're about to write a Declaration of Independence to separate themselves from Great Britain. All right, so we'll put this over here. And then go over here to armament shop. Whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the armament shop is Copper's Cove's premier source for all things shooting. Browse our wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, backed by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs, along with reloading supplies and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? Jason can handle those classes. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the armament shop today at 115A West Avenue D in Copper's Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023. And then visit www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. All right. Thank you. Welcome back. Let me get stuff set up here. There we go. All right. And welcome, Ricky. I see that you're online. Appreciate it. You're a great American. Let's see here. I want to see something here. Oh, man, I can't figure it out. All right. Let's see. Iran update. Project Freedom is in the latter stages. It looks like we got stuff going on in the Persian Gulf. The president has issued a call. His cabinet's supposed to meet at Camp David, where I used to be stationed at. And they're going to have a meeting of the minds. It's the most secure place to have a meeting, more so than at the White House. So we'll see what comes about that. It's supposed to happen tomorrow. They said due to weather it may be scrapped, but we'll see. He usually flies there, but I've seen the president come and go in a stagecoach before, so that's the true name of the presidential limo, not beast, it's stagecoach. Let me write down this so I don't forget. All right, so U.S. strikes Bandar Abbas and ship laying mines. They did that yesterday. To date, there's been 100 vessels returned back to Iranian ports. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says a couple more days might be needed for this peace treaty. The IDF is struck over 100 Hezbollah targets, and that is because Hezbollah has been attacking northern Israel with drones. Trump says the Abraham Accords should be a mandate for all countries participating in this peace process. Iranian uranium, that's a mouthful, will be given to the U.S. or destroyed by some international supervision. That's one of the requirements in the peace agreement. Iranian's new Security Council warns of no retreat. The Iranian delegation in Qatar is in Qatar for talks. Iran's World Cup team, they moved their training facility from Arizona to Mexico, and they said it was out of security concerns. Okay, whatever. Brent crude oil is trading at $100.15 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate is at $94 a barrel. And then the stock market is at 50,455.83. I didn't write down how much it was down, but I think it was down 127 or so points. All right. So hold on just a second here. I went to 7 Brew this morning. Free ad, right? All right. Okay, so we got that done. So it is election day here in Texas. So it's not just election day; it's the primary runoff day. We had our primary days on March 3rd, and if you don't get 50% plus one in Republican and I think even Democrat primaries, they you have to have a runoff with a set date through the Secretary of State's office, and that would be today. Last week was early voting. Today is actual runoff day. We had close to, I think, about 2,000 or so people that voted in Coryell County. So hold on just a second here. All right. So if you live in Coryell County and you're looking where to go vote in Texas, I had this made up last night through Gemini, just so you know. Pretty good information. But if you see there's 2 areas to vote in Copper's Cove, 2 areas to vote in Gatesville. I picked up a young man this morning. No, he's not that young, but I took him over to the Copper's Cove Early Vote Center on Main Street. He voted. It took him uh, about 3 minutes to sign in and 30 seconds to vote. That's how fast it went. All right. So, like I said, it's election day. So the Texas primary election day. So on the Senate side, the U.S. Senate, I'm pulling for, I want Ken Paxton to win. I want the Texas Attorney General's race, Mays Middleton. The Texas Railroad Commission would be Beau French. Court of Criminal Appeals, place 3, Allison Fox. Coryell County Judge, Robert Irwin. County Commissioner, place 2, Scott Weddle. And Commissioner of Court, place 4, Justin Weddle. Okay, those are my people I would like to see get elected. And anyone but one person would be a better choice. We won't mention his name, but everybody else is good. Okay, this is who I'm recommending to be elected for the during today's race. Polls close at 7 p.m. So if you haven't gone voted, my daughter Rachel said she's leaving directly from work and she's going to try to be there by 7. She may be the last person in Coryell County to be able to vote because she gets off work at 6 and she's going straight from Temple straight to Early Vote Center. All right. So I showed you that. Next is in the Texas race and the most notables. This is what the Texas scorecard wrote this morning. The Texas scorecard wrote in the marquee race that pits 4-term incumbent U.S. Senator John Cornyn against Attorney General Ken Paxton in what now has become a referendum on Texas GOP politics. Cornyn narrowly led Paxton in the March primary, 42.5 to 40.8. I mean, that was like neck and neck. And then last week, President Trump endorsed Ken Paxton. I heard this morning on the news, and I heard on some podcasts later that Ken Paxton's they've been doing a lot of heavy polling. He's holding about a 10-point lead right now. The real poll is today, okay, but we'll see. No early votes. In Texas, you can't read the early votes until the polls close, okay? Let's see. Seeking to replace Ken Paxton as Attorney General is State Senator Hayes Middleton of Galveston. He's facing with U.S. Congressman Chip Roy of Austin. And then Middleton finished in first place with 39%, and in second place with Chip Roy at 32%. And this race is like, who's more conservative, Middleton or MAGA Mays Middleton or Chip Roy? He's been putting MAGA Mays Middleton on everything. Like I said, I voted for Mays Middleton because he was endorsed by Aaron Rice, and I voted for Aaron Rice. Incumbent Railroad Commissioner Jim Wright is in a battle of his life against Beau French. I voted for Beau in a race that has attracted significant donor money because that's usually a race that no one listens to. It's like a gentleman's race. With Wright receiving $500,000 from the casino lobby, while Beau French has been heavily backed by conservative PACs. And then the last one, the statewide runoff ballot also features 2 candidates seeking an open seat on the Texas Court of Criminal Appeals, place 3. Allison Fox, a staff attorney for the court, led the March primary with 31.3 of the vote, and then she's running against Thomas Smith, He is an assistant attorney general in Ken Paxton's office, and he had 30.7%. And The Simpsons writer known as The Prophet launches run for president. Okay, I'll have to research that when I get off the air. Maybe I can use it tomorrow morning. It sounds like an independent run or something, a spoiler run. Alrighty. So, before I came on air, I know we already got some of this done. So, we'll do this one first. A federal 3-court judge, and I couldn't figure out which court it was. And I already blocked it out. Ugh. Okay. So, our 3-court judge just ruled against Alabama's new redistricting plan. They redistricted last week, and I had no idea they took these two minority majority districts and made them fair, just like the Supreme Court said a month ago, right? And this 3-judge panel, consisting of 3 judges: Stanley Marcus, he's a circuit judge, and he was appointed by Bill Clinton. Then you have Anna Manowsko. She's a district judge appointed by Trump. And then Terry Moore, another district judge appointed by Trump. These 3 judges, and I believe it was a 2-to-1 ruling. I'm pretty sure. Hold on just a second. I want to give you the right stuff. I'm pretty sure I'll figure it out in a minute. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me find the article I had. See, make it so hard to find stuff sometimes. Just give me a second here. I'll just go ahead and click on this one. 3-judge panel. Tell us how they voted. Because it doesn't say it in here. Wow. Okay, whatever. So Alabama Republicans sought to use a previously blocked 2023 congressional map following the Supreme Court's recent ruling curbing the use of race in the drawing of electoral districts had helped minority communities increase their representation in Congress. Under that map, Republicans were slated to gain 1 electoral seat by erasing a black majority held by Democrats in the southeastern part of the state. However, a 3-judge panel said Republicans must continue to use a map that has 2 majority black districts where Democrats hold significant advantages. Ultimately, we cannot see our way clear of requiring Alabamans to cast their votes in the 2026 election under a districting plan tainted by intentional race-based discrimination, the federal judges wrote. We cannot understand the 2023 plan as anything other than intentionally discriminatory. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall said he would appeal it to the Supreme Court. Know this, in my mind, it is not a matter of whether we can win this case, only when, Marshall said. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries called on the Supreme Court to reject Alabama's Republican appeal. In a statement on Tuesday, he said the Supreme Court must now do the right thing, and if the state of Alabama seeks judicial sanction to violate the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, he said, the American people must be permitted to decide who gets to represent them in Congress, not Donald Trump. And earlier in May, the court allowed the state to proceed with the 2023 map while sending the years-long case back to the U.S. District Court in Birmingham for reconsideration. Representative Shomari Figures, she's one of those two Democrats, celebrated the court's ruling, finding that the state attempted to weaken black voting power. See, that is the problem right there. Black vote. What is the difference between black voting power, white voting power, and Hispanic voting power? No, it's American voting power. Now, if she would have said Democrat voting power, I would have had a problem with that. But she had to inject race in that, totally, which is totally wrong. The Supreme Court actually said it's unconstitutional to use race on the basis of drawing congressional district lines. Totally. I have no idea why. Last week, they said they could proceed. And then this week, they said they couldn't. What happened in the corresponding 7 days that allowed this to happen? Politics. It smells. I don't care if all three judges were appointed by Donald Trump. Something happened with those judges over the weekend that caused them to rule like this. Total, my BS meter is through the roof. Unbelievable. It's going to go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's still in session. They can rule on this one. Have an emergency hearing and make a ruling right there from the bench if they want. No, they don't even need to. It's already been ruled on last month, in April. The Supreme Court says you cannot use race on the basis of drawing congressional district lines. Next, the Supreme Court backed President Trump over speech limits on immigration judges, ruling in favor of the president. All right, and this is a very short one. The Supreme Court on Tuesday handed the Trump administration a win by reversing a lower court ruling against a requirement that immigration judges seek official approval before giving speeches if they're in their official capacities. The Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals last year intervened in light of President Trump's firing of several agency heads responsible for hearing complaints. The policy stems from the Executive Office of Immigration Review, which oversees roughly 750 immigration judges. The judges did not rule on the merits of the case, but merely reversed the lower court's order and sent it back for additional proceedings. Nevertheless, the decision to win for Trump, who has faced considerable judicial scrutiny over his immigration enforcement efforts and plans for mass deportation. So immigration judges pretty much work for the Homeland Security, right? And like I was saying here, the Supreme Court on Tuesday handed the Trump administration a win by reversing a lower court's ruling against the requirement that immigration judges seek approval before giving speeches in their official capacities. Saying, so if you work for the Department of Homeland Security, you can be restricted on what you can and can't say. You can't just go willy-nilly, go out there and make a speech on your own personal belief of what you want to say. You work for the Department of Homeland Security. Case closed. All right. So it's going back to lower court. They're going to deliberate more. All right. Next, Iran. Iran is Iran. It is 12:25. Checking the time. I had a smoothie before this, and it just sucked all the energy out of me. Not the energy, but all my hydration. So I'm sucking down that tea. All right. So this is from the Federalist, and it was from yesterday. Okay, so Iran gets nothing unless it loses its nuclear stockpile. The president just said that. Marco Rubio just said that. You have to give up your uranium, Iran, or you got to give it to us, or have it destroyed by an independent international. Um, oh man, how do I write it? Oh man, I said it earlier. Hold on. Iran uranium must be given to the U.S. or destroyed by international supervision. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. So this is, like I said, this is the Federalists. We're structuring this in a way to make their commitments on the enriched stockpile, but they don't get a dime unless they deliver on their commitments, a senior official stated. So the Trump administration's negotiations with Iran do not include any pathway for the country to provide a nuclear weapon, nor will any potential deal give Iran billions of dollars. No strings attached handouts, a senior administration official said on Sunday, despite some Republican warmongers claiming otherwise. Um, the senior official said that there will be zero resources to Iranians unless and until they give up their highly enriched uranium, stating no dust, no dollars. Then, when reports about the deal with the Iranians came out last week, some hardline Republicans like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz, who appear uninterested in seeking an end to the conflict, quickly took to social media to counter-signal the deal. And Ted Cruz said this on his part, and he does have a podcast, right? And I don't agree with some of the stuff he says. I can say it because I don't work for the federal government, right? I am deeply concerned that what we are hearing about an Iran deal, and he's only hearing the stuff people want him to hear. He's not hearing the truth, right? Uh, about the Iran deal being pushed by some voices in administration. Cruz said, if the result of that a military action is to be an Iranian regime still run by Islamists who chant death to America, now receiving billions of dollars, being able to enrich uranium and develop nuclear weapons and having effective control of the state of Hormuz, when that outcome would be a disastrous mistake, and then which won't happen in the first place. And then Lindsey Graham, if a deal is struck to end the Iranian conflict, because it is believed that the Strait of Hormuz cannot be protected from Iranian terrorism, and Iran still possesses the ability to destroy major Gulf infrastructure, then Iran will be perceived as a dominant force requiring a diplomatic solution. The combination of Iran being perceived as such an ability to terrorize the Strait in perpetuity and their ability to inflict massive damage on the Gulf on oil infrastructure is a major shift of balance of power in the region over time would be a nightmare for Israel. It won't happen like that. These people are just bloviating, trying to get notoriety for what they're saying, and not listening. Well, because they're not read into what the president is negotiating with the Iranians. You know, you can utterly destroy the whole country of Iran and not get nowhere. They can try to attack the United States and not get nowhere. The force on force nature of the United States military will end in all conflicts around the world with a diplomatic solution, whether it be unconditional surrender or negotiated terms of cease of hostilities. That's the way it's always been throughout history. You can't go in and just obliterate everything inside. Don't be like Genghis Khan and kill every single person, thing, insect, animal, and keep going until there's no more to do. You can't do it. They got to realize this, right? Uh, how do you handle the something minority of one race and low of another? I don't understand what you wrote, Mr. Ricky. If you can rewrite that question, and I'll answer that. Okay. Uh, Responding to the comments, the senior official said no one actually knows what's in the deal except for those of us who have been negotiating it, adding that the real deal is the exact opposite of what Cruz said, like I was saying just now. Um, so, what are we doing on time? It's 12:32. The deal includes a two-step process. The first step, the Iranians open up the Strait of Hormuz, allowing energy to flow. And in turn, the Americans would lift the blockade, all of which would give the world economy some breathing room. The first step would also allow Iran to commit to giving up its highly enriched uranium. Once the commitment is made, step two involves hammering out the mechanism by which Iran would give up the nuclear stockpile over the course of a time negotiated period. The officials suggested that the period would be 30 days. However, one of the biggest sticking points of the deal, the one that is the most significant details Cruz and Graham get wrong, is that there will be no money or resources changing hands until Iran actually gives up the nuclear material. We're structuring this in a way where they make commitments on the enriched stockpile, but they don't get a dime unless they deliver on their commitments. The official stated that, adding that the structure allows the U.S. to verify Iran's compliance without being fleeced by the Iranians. The official said that the deal, if successful, will lower costs for Americans and calm the world energy markets while ensuring that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon over a long term. The official said that we are not there yet, noting that how long it takes to get there is a response from the Iranian leadership. The leadership has agreed in principle to the framework, though there is still some haggling over the language. It will take several days for the deal to actually be finalized and signed. Responding to some Republicans who want to escalate in Iran, and those mindset is you can't stop until the regime tips over. So my issue with that is you want to kill enough of the political leadership in Iran until it tips over, until there's no central authority whatsoever in the country, and the country dissolves into tyranny and civil war. That is the problem. That is the problem you will have if you go in and just utterly destroy everything. Like I say sometimes, make it glow. Well, if you make it glow, there's no one there to help keep the country organized and keep warlords from attacking everybody and Iran just dissolving into a non-political set of fiefdoms like you got in Libya. Let's put it like that. All right. All right. So that's Iran. And from what I was just reading a while ago, the president's supposed to be going to Camp David tomorrow with his cabinet, and they're supposed to be having a very high level secretive meeting about what's going on. Let's get to that point so we know what is happening instead of listening to the conjecture of a bunch of talking heads in the political news space where they're just trying to get clicks and getting rich. Instead of listening to guys like me, they don't make money doing this. We do it for fun. All right. So the corresponding with that is this. All right. So Mike Pompeo was the Secretary of State under the first administration of President Trump. Very smart man. He was valedictorian at West Point when he graduated as a cadet. Very understandable. He knows what he's talking about, except for the fact that he's not in the administration right now, and he's being very vocal, like he's running for president or something, and he wants to be thinking he is in the Secretary of State's office or in the presidency right now. All right. So over the weekend, he made some statements that Stephen Chong in the Trump administration didn't like. So this is from Just the News. It said former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo ripped the reported comments of a potential Iranian agreement that what we just went over, that is still being negotiated by President Trump and his team, warning that the emerging framework resembles the Iranian deal from the Obama administration. I can guarantee you it's not the same. The report said that Iran and the U.S. might agree to a 60-day ceasefire while negotiating over Tehran's nuclear program continued. Okay, so the deal being floated with Iran seems straight out of the Wendy Sherman, Robert Malley, Ben Rhodes playbook Pompeo wrote on X, and not remotely America first. He said that the U.S. should deny Iran access to money and take out enough Iranian capability so it cannot threaten the allies of the region. Pompeo's decision drew a fierce response from White House Communications Director Stephen Chong. Quote, Mike Pompeo has no idea what the blank he's talking about, unquote, Chung wrote on X. He should shut his stupid mouth and leave the real work to the professionals. He's not read into anything that's happening, so how would he know, unquote. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And like I was saying earlier, you got these people. First you have Ted Cruz, then you have Lindsey Graham, now you have Mike Pompeo, and there's a whole slew of other people who think they're smarter than the president. They did not get 77 million votes to make them the president of the United States. They think they're president by default, and they're not. Let the president, let the Secretary of State, let the Secretary of Defense, let them all do their job. The Attorney General, Department of Homeland Security, those kinds of people that were nominated by President Trump, they were confirmed by the Senate, and they were sworn in. All right, so what else do I want to talk about this morning? We talked about that. Don't forget to go vote. If you're in Texas, you have until 7 p.m. tonight I don't want to have to show you the placard again. I've done it already. Go vote. Let's see. I don't want to talk about these right now. Let's talk about some cool stuff about people that hate America. First one we're going to talk a little bit about is from Jonathan Turley. He wrote a piece of, and it was a typo from Fox News. I'll show you if y'all can read it. Look at the headline on that. Speaker Jeffries' brother. Last time I checked, Hakeem Jeffries is the minority leader. He is not the Speaker of the House. How in the world did someone mistakenly write it like that? That person, I don't know who printed this up. I know Jonathan Turley didn't do it. This is Hassan Kwame Jeffries, an Ohio State University history professor and the brother of House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. That's why I know Jonathan Turley didn't read the headline, okay? Didn't write the headline. Joined the call of many on the left for citizens to rise up and fight the system by, quote, any means necessary, unquote. However, added a menacing element in calling for citizens to emulate John Brown, who murdered white farmers who supported slavery. He is not the first academic to use Brown as a model for political action today. In a social media post flagged by libs of TikTok, Jeffries declared John Brown understood that the only way to free Americans from the scourge of white supremacy is to get rid of white supremacists by any means necessary. He was right then, he was right now. The posting was widely interpreted as a thinly veiled rationalization for political violence, a dangerous contribution to the age-old rage remarked as rising attacks, including assassinations. We had another one this weekend. We had a guy trying to breach the White House grounds. Other academics have pushed Brown as a model for activists in fighting racism, oligarchy, and other ills in society. Stacy Patton, a professor of journalism at Howard University, previously pushed back this model in a blog titled John Brown Didn't Ask Enslaved People How to Be a Goodly White Ally. Patton scolded white liberals to stop using how to better say ally to minorities. It's a question that always lands heavy, not because I doubt the sincerity, but because the question itself is still a form of protection that centers on the asker's confusion instead of the target's danger, Patton wrote. It is a request to be taught, forgiven, and measured again and again. It's it's another round of homework assigned to be wounded. It's exhausting because it's still a form of emotional outsourcing. John Brown is known for his pivotal role in the period as the Bleeding Kansas and the infamous Potawatomi Massacre, which he orchestrated in 1856. Brown and his fellow abolitionists dragged 5 Kansas settlers, and at least 3 of whom were pro-slavery sympathizers, out of their homes and executed them. His own son, Salmon Brown, said that when his father and his brother heard about the caning of the abolitionist Charles, wow, I got a serious lag time on my tablet over here. Brown was eventually captured after his raid on Harper's Ferry and hanged. I understand that Brown is viewed as a figure who recognized that the scourge of slavery could only be excised from a nation by force, he was viewed as a catalyst of the Civil War by many. However, his murder and kidnapping of whites were efforts to use terror and vigilantism to achieve worthy goal of emancipation. Frederick Douglass, a famous black man, wrote beautifully about his divided emotions about Brown, crediting him with the thunderclap that helped spark the struggle for freedom. He hosted Brown at his home and admired his conviction and passion. However, he was also a critic of the raid on Harper's Ferry and argued for political, nonviolent change. He wrote that the taking of Harper's Ferry was a measure that he never encouraged by my word or by my vote. For his part, Abraham Lincoln denounced Brown as his insane zealot, adding that this was not a slave insurrection. It was an attempt by white men to get up and revolt among slaves, in which slaves refused to participate. So my view on John Brown is, yeah, he was an abolitionist. He was a very violent abolitionist. And my view about him, he was a corresponding leading indicator that sparked the Civil War, because that man was so, how do you put it, the word, I can't think of what the word I want to use, but he was the cause of a lot of the issues. Now, if you study American history in those times, and we all know I'm a Republican, and I fully supported the Union's response in the Civil War. People down here, it used to be the war of Northern aggression. No, they were keeping the Union together, and that was the whole purpose of us, is to keep our Union together and outlawing the use of slavery. The 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments were largely all passed by Republicans, totally. Especially, there was very little in the Senate when 13th and 14th went through. But look at it like this. If you study American history and you study economics, you know how things were going to go in the terms of slavery. Okay, slavery would have been uneconomically viable. That's the word. Within 20 years. I mean, 20 years is too long to allow slavery to persist anyway. But you would have. I lost the page. Okay, he wrote me back. Hold on just a second. How do you handle a state that is mostly one race with a small amount of another? You divide. Okay, so that's Ricky asking, how do you divide the political boundaries of a congressional race? Well, you can't use race as the measure of you're going to guarantee this one race a congressional district surrounded by the congressional district. The Voters' Rights Act was overruled by the Supreme Court a month and a half ago. Says you can't do that. What you can do is you can do it politically among population, and not to where it's like it looks like a river runs through it type scenario. You have to have your congress. If you look at our congressional districts, hold on, oh man, hold on just a second here. I can do this real quick. Unhide. That was a good question there, man. Okay. All right. So I'm going to transition over Hold on, just in media transition. Okay, Ricky, look at the slide I just put up. All right, you see how here in Texas we got congressional districts. We got congressional districts. Well, this one still runs up. Okay, but for the most part, all of our congressional districts are concerned. Are like in shapes, not long pencil lines, well, like this one is, right? But most of them are just regular congressional districts. All right. Look up in Illinois, in northern Illinois, and look at the 13th congressional district and the 15th congressional district, I believe, right? And you'll see what I mean by you'll have congressional districts there that are run like this. Oh man, they'll go from here, and then they will go around like this all the way around. Then you have another one that goes like this, and it's like you could put three campaign signs within 100 yards in three different congressional districts. Eh, that's wrong. That is true gerrymandering. The way we did ours here in Texas, this is the new map, right? And you can see it's legitimate. You know exactly who you're voting for. Everything is spread out. It's not within 100 yards of each other. All right, but that's what I'm getting at. All right, I hope that answered that question. If not, call me after this and we'll talk about it. Okay. What do we look at? 12:52. All right, let's go to something else. This is going. Let's see. Oyster Boy. Okay. You know, Oyster Boy Graham Plattner was. He's been talking bad about Chris Kyle. I'm sorry, and the American soldier that was actually wounded in combat. Right. Well, he sawed off at Chris Kyle, and Ty Kyle came back. All right. American sniper widow Taya Kyle shredded Maine Senate candidate Graham Oysterboy Plattner's cowardly comments, calling out the progressive Democrat for alleging her late husband inflated his kill numbers by shooting innocent civilians. Nothing says I want attention more than disparaging a national hero who's also dead. Kyle responded on the Sunday briefing. It is cowardly, it is lowbrow to lie about someone else, and it distracts from what you probably said. Kyle accused Plattner of a controversial challenger to incumbent Senator Susan Collins of employing a cheap political trick to attach his name to someone who is so beloved. I still remember February 2nd, 2013. That's working to get him some notoriety, but not to me. It shows a total inability to lead with character. For me, he would be out of the running immediately. Plattner's remarks from a 2024 episode of the Green Beret Chronicle Show, a podcast discussing military affairs. His stories, it says, quoted, his stories about how many people he was shooting certainly tracked with the behavior I witnessed. He was a lonely little Marine grunt. He had no idea what he was talking about, what goes on in the SEAL teams. Plattner has also come under fire for recently resurfaced Reddit post trashing a soldier in a viral video who was wounded in a clash with the Taliban, saying dumb blank didn't deserve to live. And then Rob O'Neill, he's the guy that killed Osama bin Laden, called Plattner out while reacting to his post, calling him way out of line, talking about another soldier that way. Plattner, a Marine Corps veteran, has learned has leaned into his struggle with PTSD to explain the bevy of incendiary social media posts that has surfaced since he announced his Senate run. And Rob O'Neill, disputed that suggestion and saying PTS is no excuse for vile hatred, which is exactly true. All right? Leave Chris Kyle alone, you little oyster boy. All right. So we're almost out of time, huh? See if there's a couple other ones. I'm going to have to get back a lot of this till tomorrow. There's one. So California's 7th Congressional District, they have a Democrat that's running, and she's from Vietnam, and she refuses to say the Pledge of Allegiance. California's 7th Congressional District candidate, Sacramento City Council member Mai Vang, is receiving pushback after videos resurfaced of her refusing to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Over Memorial Day weekend, multiple clips showed Vang turning aside or staying silent during city council meetings as members said the Pledge of Allegiance toward the American flag. As recently as Wednesday, Van can be seen with her eyes downcast during the pledge. Vang, who has held her Sacramento City Council seat since 2020, previously addressed her refusal to say the Pledge of Allegiance in a 2025 Facebook post. She said, "This is exactly why I choose not to recite the Pledge of Allegiance during every council meeting," Vang said. "As much as I love this country, I use that moment to ground myself, to center my communities, and remind myself of the injustices that harm continue to affect so many, both locally and across the globe, under this nation's influence." She continued, "We must not tune out that they want us to become numb to the realities that we see in the news, in part of the plan to keep us complacent. But instead, we resist. We surround ourselves with loved ones, take time for rest, remain valiant, and stay steadfast in the fight of equity, justice, humanity. We got us. I love you all." Okay, that'll make sense. And then Vang is several candidates who are seeking to challenge longtime Democrat Doris Masui, who has held the California seat for 20 years. The Sacramento City Council member is also among the latest in a series of progressive candidates seeking to challenge long-standing Democrat politicians. So she's a Democratic Socialist of America person. She's voiced far-left positions for universal health care, increased taxes on billionaires, and abolishing ICE. So in a comment to the New York Post, Sacramento Democrat political consultant Steve Mavaligo called Vang's actions completely disrespectful. Wow, really? It's patriotism 101. You say the Pledge of Allegiance even though you don't agree with everything. But Mavaligo said, "You can't say the Pledge of Allegiance. That's how extreme you are? Come on." The primary is going to be June 2nd, which is next Tuesday. And they have a jungle primary everywhere in California. Hopefully she is excused from all that, right? All right. So we're at 1 o'clock. And I still have all this. I might go extra long tomorrow. I got some good stuff I want to read and stuff. Some more of it's by Oyster Boy, Graham Plattner. Here's one about Hassan Piker. But it's like, man, a lot. But we're going to let that go. Let me write down what I got. We got that one. We got that one done. I missed one. Hold on just a second. Oh, here it is. Okay, before I let you go. Okay, so there's a guy named Carlos de la Cruz. He's running for the congressional seat in 35th congressional district. Is, like I said, Carlos de la Cruz. He's Trump endorsed. He's also an Air Force veteran that's 100% uh, uh, VA disabled, like I am. And his opponent, another Republican, is accusing him of being a 100% disabled veteran only to get out of paying property taxes. As it was stating in here, there's 164,000 veterans inside the state of Texas that are 100% disabled veterans. And not all wounds are external. A lot of them internal. We have people with PTSD problems. We have people like me with sleep apnea problems. We have people that have got back problems. You don't see everything. Not everyone walks with prosthetics or reaches with prosthetics. I mean, or wear eye patches. I mean, that is the horrors of war. But sometimes you can't see what's going on. We had this discussion last night. Yesterday afternoon, we were talking about veterans and stuff. This is a good way to end the program today. Uh, there are people out there that don't understand what goes on with the military. Okay, what we see in combat. I mean, I got 33 months of combat. We have people that see so much carnage out there, they're hurt up here. Not just here, up here. Okay? The heart has a lot to do with what's going on up there. We have about 22 people a day that take their lives in our country that are veterans. There's one too many. It should be zero. But they need that help. And they get that help by going to the VA. And you get that help when you can't go to the VA, you dial 988, the the national hotline. But besides 22 a day that take their lives in the United States that are veterans, it's not saying how many people actually attempt it, but 22, 17 to 22 a day kill themselves that are U.S. veterans. On average, there's 130 Americans. If you take our number and supplement with the number of civilians, it comes to about 130 people a day kill themselves in our country. That's a national scourge. That's a mental awareness program that we should all be aware of. But we take care of our people in the military with part of our disability, 100% disability. That comes up to about $4,100 a month. That, full disclosure, right? That helps me do this without having to be paid for it because I got the income coming in. It's disability. It helps me. It helps me take care of my legs, my back, everything, right? Uh, my wife walks with a walker. She was an MP in the Army for almost 5 years of her life, and she hurt herself, and she's being taken care of the rest of her life by the VA. It happens over and over again throughout our country, not just Texas, our state. And when you have a candidate disparage another veteran because he has a 100% disability rating. The guy that's attacked him not served one day at all ever in the military at all. He has no clue what goes on in the military. His idea of being in the military is playing G.I. Joe with little bitty stick figures. Until you've seen the real thing, you don't understand. That man, Carlos de la Cruz, deserves your vote today to win the Republican primary in CD 35. Okay? And CD 35 is uh, Guadalupe County and over by Gonzales. Oh, wow. Okay, it's like southeast of San Antonio. Oh, wow. Okay, 'cause I'm looking at right there. Matter of fact, I'll go back to it. Oh, no, no, go back. Media transition over. If you're looking, where's my mouse? There's 35 right there. That's better. So you have Bexar County, which is San Antonio. Okay, not Bexar, it's Bexar. Okay, you got Bexar, Guadalupe, Wilson, and Karnes County. That is all CD 35. That's Carlos de la Cruz. He needs your vote this afternoon. All right? See, I got to do one more. All right? Show people like that the road, Mr. Lujan. And over on the Democrat side, you have a lady, she's the wants to put MAGA people in ICE detention facilities. So this is what's going on over there. All right. So any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, moan, groans, complaints? None. All right. We'll do this over again tomorrow morning at 6:30 with the JP's morning brief. And just to let you know, all right, man. Okay, I'm live. Okay, my screen came up on this thing. Just to let you know, we reformatted the JP's morning brief thanks to some consultations with family members, with Covite for Life, and Stumblefoot. Okay, if you haven't seen Stumblefoot on there, he's on there every now and then. They we're not going to do the America 250 on the JP's morning brief. We're only going to do the America 250 on the JP8 report. Just so you know. So we'll take care. We take care. This morning was the first time that I did it like that, and it flowed pretty easily. Okay, still 30 minutes went long. So don't forget, voting today till 7 p.m. in Texas. And if you still need to know where to go vote, there it is right there. Take a snapshot. It lasts longer. All right, here we go. All right, back in. And if you're looking at how to get a hold of me, I'm on X, I'm on Facebook, I'm on ScrewTube, I'm on True Social, and my email address is jp8report@gmail.com. All right, so tomorrow morning, 6:30 Central, JP's morning brief. 12 o'clock Central is JPA report. We'll have some election results from what happened today in the great state of Texas. All right, so this is James Pierce with the JPA report. I will catch y'all tomorrow. I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm out.